Link is the eternal hero of the Zelda series, the vessel of the spirit of the hero, a reincarnating saviour of a land plagued by perpetual evil. He's one of the most iconic video game characters of all time, and it's clear why. Despite staying infamously silent, Link is one of the greatest video game protagonists. But they say a hero is only as good as its villain, the darkness to challenge the light, and the Zelda series has its fair share of memorable antagonists. I've previously covered my favourite Zelda final boss fights, from A Link Between Worlds' horrific splicing of two warlocks, Yuga Ganon, to A Link to the Past's climactic showdown against the Demon King in the Dark World, but something I think deserves more attention is the deaths of these foes. You've spent the entire game exploring a world tortured by the game's villain, a land plunged into darkness with its people lost and terrified, a land where daughters are stolen from their homes, a land where the moon itself threatens to fall, and bringing an end to this suffering with one final swing of your sword is one of the most satisfying moments in any Zelda game. But Link has a flair for the dramatic, and in multiple games in the series has finished off the villain in some ridiculously cool ways. So today, let's run through my top 5 villain deaths in the Zelda series. Not the quality of the villain themselves or their battle, but the way in which they met their demise. But before the list, a huge thank you to Crunchyroll, who sponsored this video. If you follow the link in the description, crunchyroll.com/Zeltic, you can grab 14 free days of Crunchyroll Premium. That's anime with no ads, whether it's on your phone, your gaming console, or your Sheikah slate. Crunchyroll has professionally translated subtitles on all shows, so you won't be getting any Let's Play money making game or ones who does not have Triforce can't go in like in Zelda 1. I've never properly watched much anime, except for one of my all-time favourite series, Dragon Ball Z, and I've been binging a rewatch of its sequel, Dragon Ball Super, in full 1080p HD over on Crunchyroll. If you've got any suggestions for me to try, leave them in the comments below. Crunchyroll includes a bunch of shows, both old and new, like Attack on Titan, Fire Force, One Piece, and more. So if you want to try out Crunchyroll Premium for free, check the link in the top of the description, crunchyroll.com/Zeltic. Number 5. Malidus Spirit Tracks. Here's one you probably weren't expecting. The DS Zelda games are often overlooked, by myself included, but Spirit Tracks in particular is a great, if a little weird, Zelda game. Set a century after the events of The Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass, when Hylians have settled on a continent imaginatively named New Hyrule, Spirit Tracks focuses on a new Link and Zelda, in a land previously ruled by the spirits of good. These spirits of good once fought a brutal war against a demon king known as Malidus, a beast which was sealed beneath the Tower of the Spirit and kept there by the Spirit Tracks. During the events of the game, Malidus' servant, Chancellor Cole, tears Zelda's body away from her, forcing her to live on as an ethereal spirit. Zelda acts as a companion for Link throughout the game in her spirit form, and it's not until the very end of the game where the princess finally gets an opportunity to regain her corporeal form after Link purges her body of Malidus' revived spirit. Despite her body once again being an empty vessel, Zelda can't return to it. It's not until Byrne holds Malidus back and Zelda focuses her energy, asking for a blessing from Tetra herself, that the princess is able to return to her body. Malidus instead forces his spirit into Chancellor Cole's body, becoming a titanic beast which Link and Zelda team up to battle. This fight results in one of the best villain deaths in the series. Both Link and Zelda hold the Locomo sword, forcing it through the crystal on Malidus' forehead and deep into his skull, causing the demon to recoil back in agony before exploding in brilliant white light. Spirit Tracks is one of the best Zelda games when it comes to how Princess Zelda is involved in the story, and her quest to regain her body ends in an awesome joint strike with Link and Zelda holding the Locomo sword together into the skull of the Demon King. Number 4. Ganondorf Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is one of the darkest Zelda games, and its primary antagonist, Ganondorf, is no different. The game takes place in a timeline where the hero of time warned Princess Zelda of Ganondorf's betrayal, leading to a brutal civil war and Ganondorf's execution. But in his last hour, the Triforce of Power awakened within him and he broke free of his shackles, tearing through the thick steel cuffs, his immense strength transcending his own death, leaving only a glowing wound on his chest. By the end of the game, Ganondorf still has never truly lost. His strength has allowed him to break any threat to his schemes, using his raw power to survive an execution, banishment in the Twilight Realm, and even the full force of the fused shadow, which had previously annihilated Zant with only a fraction of its power. As such, this Ganondorf is cocky, arrogant, so confident in his own strength that losing is unfathomable to him. In this timeline's version of events, Ganondorf never broke into the Sacred Realm and seized the Triforce, resulting in him obtaining the Triforce of Power. The piece instead awakened within him during his execution. This man likely believed his unbreakable strength, this Triforce of Power, was a divine right, a sign of the favour of the gods, a sign that he was the chosen ruler. So it makes his death even more satisfying when during the final battle, the Gerudo is physically overpowered by Link, physically thrown back in a sword lock before being cut down and ran through with the Master Sword, in the exact same wound he suffered years earlier at the hands of the sages. It's even more fitting when we know that this move was taught to Link by the hero's Shade, who's the spirit of the hero of time, the first Link to go toe-to-toe with Ganondorf. Even after his defeat, this Ganondorf refuses to give up. His entire personality, his entire life has been built on his burning desire for domination. That he was overpowered and beaten is impossible. He stands up, the Master Sword still buried in his chest, spitting curses at Link and Zelda, simply refusing to die. But he lost. The Triforce of Power, the artifact on which he relied, the source of his godlike strength, fades from his hand, and with a final flashback to his puppet, Zant, Ganondorf's life wilts away. Number 3. Ganon, Ocarina of Time. Here it is, the one you expected on a list of Zelda villain deaths, the one that started the trend of Link's dramatic finishes, Ganon from Ocarina of Time. You've journeyed across Hyrule, awakening the sages and healing the land, slowly breaking Ganondorf's hold on the kingdom, and at the peak of his tower you beat the King of Evil in single combat, using his dark magic against him and repelling his hatred with the sacred might of the Master Sword and the light arrows before his tower collapsed upon him. But in the silent aftermath of Ganondorf's defeat, the rubble begins to move. Returning from the brink of oblivion, Ganondorf rises from the ashes of defeat, the might of the Triforce of Power surging through him, fueled by an undying hatred. And then, using all of his power, he transforms, shedding the man he once was and becoming a towering beast, Ganon. Ocarina of Time's final boss fight is the single most climactic and cinematic fight in the series. His silhouette against the lightning-etched sky is terrifying, and for the first phase of the fight you're without the Master Sword, forced to use an alternate weapon, trapped in a claustrophobic ring of flame with the Demon King. But a cinematic fight is nothing without a cinematic end, and this the hero of time delivers, with a series of blows to the demon's head with the Master Sword, ending with a final thrust through his skull, burying the sacred blade between Ganon's eyes. Seeing their opportunity, the 6 sages pool their power together, attempting to seal the demon. Seeing each of these characters, who we've individually come to know, characters who have all suffered at the hands of the Gerudo King, come together to bring an end to Ganon, is an amazing end to the origin story of the Demon King. Ganon's defeat in Ocarina of Time is the single most iconic villain death in the Zelda series, though there are 2 more which I think top it. Number 2. Demise, Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword is one of the most controversial Zelda games, but despite its flaws, it's impossible to ignore this game's monumental, epic story and characters. Skyward Sword is the biblical origins of the Zelda timeline, telling the story of the very first hero, the very first Zelda, and the very first villain, the source of monsters, king of demons, Demise. Demise is the beginning of evil, a being of pure hatred and malice who first broke free into the world during the era of the goddess Hylia, when the people lived in peace with the divine guardian of the Triforce. His awakening resulted in a great war, known as the Sealing War, when the goddess imprisoned him in the sealed grounds at great cost. Centuries later, Demise clawed his way back to life, using his servant Lord Girahim to break his seal and return to the world of the living. Slowly uncoiling to his full height, his hair bursting back into life as a roaring cascade of flame, Demise is reborn into the world, the original Demon King. Demise's return truly feels like you're standing toe to toe with a dark god. He's impressed by Link's courage, claiming that last time he walked the earth, all humans before him fled and cowered in fear. He prepares a place to entertain this single warrior, this soul Hylian brave enough to oppose him, an ethereal realm of open skies and water. The battle against Demise is incredibly cinematic, a straight up, no holds barred sword fight. And after underestimating Link's strength, Demise's power surges, calling forth a thunderstorm. He holds his dark blade to the sky in a twisted mockery of Link's own skyward strike, allowing his sword to be struck by lightning, drinking the electricity and crackling with blue energy. But Link's Master Sword is a match for Demise's own blade. The sword that seals the darkness too can absorb the lightning energy, throwing it back at the Demon King in a disc. And after Link knocks the Demon King down for the final time, he leaps into the air, catching a lightning strike on his blade before landing with the sword on Demise's chest. I've always thought this is one of the coolest video game villain deaths. At the end of a one-on-one sword fight, Demise is slain by a lightning-charged finishing blow. Number 1. Ganondorf the Wind Waker. Here we go, you didn't expect to see a Zelda villain's death list that wasn't topped by the Wind Waker, right? This game is one of the most whimsical and bright in the series, at least on the surface. It takes place in the flooded kingdom of Hyrule, on sparse, colourful islands dotted around the vast Great Sea, with upbeat music, playful cel-shaded visuals, and a story which is often spirited and cartoonish. But beneath the vibrant surface of the Wind Waker lies a far more serious undertone. The Hero of Winds, for example, is one of the most badass incarnations of Link in the entire series. He wasn't chosen by the goddesses, he's a child looking for his sister, even if this means massacring the legions of demonic minions summoned by an age-old king of evil. The darker elements in the Wind Waker are incredibly potent because of how they're juxtaposed with the bright overworld. Link must venture into twisted labyrinths such as the Earth Temple, a tomb crawling with the reanimated dead. And this contrast between light and dark comes to a head in the game's final battle, when the Hero of Winds ends Ganondorf in the single most violent way in the entire series. At the top of his dark tower in sunken Hyrule, with the oceans above crashing down around him, Link avoids a singing blow from the mighty swords of the Gerudo King, replying with a flurry from the Master Sword, then leaping 20 feet into the air in an arcing strike, burying the Blade of Evil's Bane almost to the hilt through the skull of Ganondorf. This blow turned the Gerudo King to stone before his corpse was buried beneath the waves, forgotten alongside the kingdom he coveted for so long. Ganondorf's final line in the Wind Waker calls back to his monologue, when he laments on the suffering of his people in the barren, harsh Gerudo Desert, while the Hylians lived in peace and plenty in the green fields of Hyrule. No matter when it came, the winds that blew upon the Gerudo tribe carried the same thing: death. And now, with his plans unravelled and his body broken, the same winds blow for Ganondorf, bringing his death. Thanks for watching this video. Again, a huge shout out to Crunchyroll for sponsoring this. Visit crunchyroll.com/Zeltic or use the link in the description for 14 days of Crunchyroll Premium for free. What do you guys think is the best villain death in the Zelda series? Let me know in the comments below. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.